Hey everyone, welcome back to Thriving in Ambiguity, the podcast where we tackle the twists and turns of enterprise and public sector IT, ideally without losing our minds. I'm your host, Steve Mancini, and today we're talking about squeezing the most out of your virtualized environment, especially if you're a VMware customer. We'll look at how HPE's Private Cloud Business Edition, with its innovative disaggregated hardware design, can potentially lower your VMware cost and simplify virtualization. If you're thinking about life after Broadcom, or if you're just curious about new hypervisor options, then you've got to hear about HPE's VM Essentials. And by the way, if you want a hybrid approach using both VMware and VM Essentials on the same hardware, yep, that's possible too. So let's jump in. Virtualization has been a cornerstone of IT for years, but as organizations scale, complexity often tags right along. The Broadcom acquisition of VMware has everybody reevaluating strategies and exploring alternatives. If you're on the fence, or if you just want to confirm you're making the right moves, this episode's for you. The good news here is that HPE has a robust line of private cloud solutions that help you manage costs, keep workloads secure, and maintain that performance you need. Plus, you can run it yourself, or you can hand over all of the heavy lifting to HPE as a fully managed service. It's your call. But today, we're going to zero in on HPE Private Cloud Business Edition and VM Essentials. Let's start by reaffirming the role of private cloud in the hybrid world. Control and security. Keeping data on-premise makes governance and compliance more straightforward. Performance and cost. Private cloud is tuned to your workloads and applications, often ending up being cheaper in the long run, comparing that to public cloud. Scalability. Modern private clouds aren't rigid monoliths. They're flexible and they grow with your business needs. Analysts note that more than half of production workloads are still on-prem. As AI and data-driven apps ramp up, private cloud is increasingly critical for performance and data sovereignty. The question is, how do you keep private cloud as simple and cost-effective as public cloud? So let's dig into that. HPE Private Cloud Business Edition, think of it as an on-prem solution with the same ease of management you'd get from public cloud. Things like self-service provisioning, ease of scalability, and built-in cost controls. So what's the secret sauce here? Well, the secret sauce is disaggregated hardware that separates the servers, the networking, and the storage, yet manages them through a single modern interface. See, when hyper-converged HCI solutions like Nutanix and Dell's VxRail first emerged, they solved many issues by bundling building blocks and simplifying updates. But what we learned was scalability was tough. If you needed more compute or more storage, typically you ended up with a problem because rarely did those two things scale the same. Realistically, what would happen is you may have your workloads grow in a compute fashion where you needed more processor, more cores, and more memory, or your data grew and you needed more storage. But because of the building blocks, the only way to scale would be to add another node. Not only that, the node had to be either like or very similar. Otherwise, it wasn't compatible. So what that meant is you ended up over provisioning something in almost all cases. So that was the big number one. Number two, let's say you were a smaller shop. And let's say when you were first sold this, it made a lot of sense because maybe you needed somewhere between 4 and 10 servers for that workload. So when you spread all of that storage out, it all matched up pretty well. However, over the last 5 years, server hardware is getting way more powerful. Okay. So we're seeing data centers shrink in compute size, whereas one server could be as powerful as 11 previous generation servers. So think about the shrinking there. Okay, well, now when we look at HCI, if you had a cluster anywhere less than 10 nodes, you may actually be able to do that in 1 or 2 nodes today. Well, as we know, when it comes to resiliency and spreading data, 1 or 2 nodes just doesn't work. Okay, you typically need 3 or 4 nodes to spread that data across. Think of a RAID 5 set. Well, HCI worked the exact same way. So now small shops are now left in a weird place where they either have to overbuy in a refresh or they have to think of different options. So that's number 2. Number 3, we're talking about large enterprise infrastructure, talking 50 or more nodes in a solution. In those situations, there's a major issue when it comes to performance bottlenecks, because the more nodes you add to the cluster, think of it, the more nodes and that data spread across all of those nodes as the environment's talking to each other, because that data has to communicate against all these different nodes, you get IO latency. Okay. And then that becomes your bottleneck. So there's 3 major concerns when it comes to HCI. So while HCI was a great solution and it solved a lot of problems, today there's just some major flaws there that can really cause problems for customers. So need to think about how we're going to overcome those challenges, and Private Cloud Business Edition solves under the covers. Private Cloud Business Edition leverages HPE's Alletra MP storage, a software-defined all-flash system with active controller design, leveraging erasure coding. That means 100% data availability. It's easy to scale up and down. There's no forced additions or extra nodes. If you want to learn more about Alletra MP, just check out my previous episode where we deep dive into it. Because your data resiliency isn't tied to the servers, you could start with just 2. That's all you need. Or if you're prepping for AI and you need to add GPUs, well, the great part is you can add different server flavors. You're not tied to a specific node match like you were with HCI. That's the beauty of it. So depending on what your requirements are for your workload, you can customize your compute resources to match. That's completely unique. If you're using Aruba networking, you get fully integrated patch and update compatibility right within the same interface. And if you need microsegmentation, Aruba's CX10K switches have you covered. We're going to cover that more in an additional episode because I really want to dig into that. Finally, by right-sizing your VMware environment, you avoid buying more license than necessary. And in some cases, the savings alone can justify the whole solution. So some of the key benefits. For one, it's an engineered full stack solution. HPE integrates the hardware and the software so you don't have to build it all yourself. Second, it's fast time to value. All of it is pre-validated and tested. You're up and running in days, not months. And I have to be honest here. When I worked with Dell, we did some major VxRail installations, and some of those installations were so complex, it took 6 months or longer to actually get it implemented. And I'm not talking about the time it took to migrate. I'm just talking about the straight implementation of the solution. It was crazy. This is way simpler. As a matter of fact, in many cases, most of it is pre-configured before it's actually even delivered. So once the system registers the cloud console, boom, you're off and running. Really, really cool. Third, lower ongoing management. Okay. Automated updates and capacity planning free your team to tackle what really matters. They can focus on their workloads. So before diving into HP's VM Essentials hypervisor, I have to stress how crucial GreenLake is to making all of this work together. The GreenLake Cloud Console is a unified, cloud-based management platform that gives you full visibility across networking, servers, storage, data protection, and all of the HP integrated private cloud solutions, including AI, from one place. No other OEM is doing this, and it's a real differentiator for HPE. So now, circling back to VM Essentials, Private Cloud Business Edition itself runs on GreenLake cloud-based software, built on technology called Morpheus. Yes, Matrix fans, the reference is real. I even got product updates from Mr. Anderson, so they take it to the next level. Morpheus, though, is so powerful, it can manage your VMware, it can manage Nutanix, and more. But today, we're focusing on VMware and VM Essentials. So I'm going to dive deep into Morpheus in a future episode. Because of Morpheus, though, HPE didn't have to reinvent the wheel when it came to creating this VMware alternative. They opted for an open source KVM hypervisor, integrated in with the same tools that they have already used when it came to managing VMware. Now, this KVM hypervisor is very similar to what Nutanix was doing with their AHV hypervisor. Okay. So we didn't want to recreate the wheel. We wanted something that was reliable, that was built and rock solid, and ultimately something that HPE was comfortable in supporting, because we're going to support this entire stack. So you can run VMware and VM Essentials side by side on the same hardware. In this case, it allows you to keep mission critical apps on VMware, shift less mission critical workloads to VM Essentials, and you instantly reduce your VMware licensing. Plus, you've got a ready-made path to fully pivot away from VMware if and when you're ready. So, top reasons here for VM Essentials. For one, choice of hypervisor. You have a legitimate alternative if you're wary of the whole thing that's going on with Broadcom and the VMware pricing. It's high performance. It's optimized for the HP hardware stack, and it's a rock solid solution. Seamless integration. Morpheus takes care of that, allowing it to all be under the GreenLake umbrella for a single management interface, allowing you to manage both those on-prem resources and, oh yeah, public cloud as well. Completely unique. Now, if you caught my recent chat with Mac Avancina, he mentioned how many organizations are moving away from owning hardware outright. Everything we've been discussing, Private Cloud Business Edition, VM Essentials, can also be fully managed by HPE as Private Cloud Enterprise. You pay for capacity as you use it, and just like AWS and Azure, but it stays on-prem, so you keep full control of your data. Why GreenLake matters. So, unified governance. You see the cost, the usage, compliance across all your hybrid workloads in one place. You have simplified operations. You can deploy, manage, and protect VMs or containers, whether they're on-prem or in the cloud. And it's consumption-based. Pay as you go, scale up and down, and get that public cloud experience in your own data center or your co-locate. You have the choice. So if you're rethinking your virtualization strategy, wondering about your next move post-Broadcom, or just looking to optimize your VMware environment, take a closer look at Private Cloud Business Edition and VM Essentials. We have demos, assessments, and tools ready to show you where you can save and how you can scale effectively. So that's it for today, folks. I hope we've clarified how HPE Private Cloud Business Edition and VM Essentials can boost or even replace your VMware environment, giving you real options in this fast-changing tech landscape. Thank you for tuning in to Thriving in Ambiguity. If you have questions or want me to dive deeper into something, drop a comment or reach out directly. And while you're here, hit that subscribe button and stay curious, stay innovative, and I'll see you on the next episode.